avarice of the Ligurians. Why is it said that the Ligurians are stingy? I am happy to be able to answer this question, because it is a question that as a Ligurian I have been asked many times by foreigners, or as the non-Ligurians are jokingly called. The explanation is relatively simple. In ancient times, for millennia, the primary source of wealth of a people was agriculture. All the great civilizations of history arose in flat areas crossed by an important river, which guaranteed water all year round. The abundance of food favored the growth of the population, and the latter allowed for manpower to produce other than food, tools, goods, art, etc. Liguria has an almost completely mountainous territory. Apart from the Albenga area, there are no noteworthy plains. The hills are not as sweet as in Piedmont or Tuscany or other places. They are impervious and full of dense vegetation. In order to obtain arable land, the terracing of mountainous and hilly terrain was used in Liguria. Small examples of Ligurian strip terracing. To create a few square meters of flat surface, hundreds of hours of work had to be used to prepare the stone blocks, put them in a dry position, no mortar or concrete, deforest the existing vegetation, level the ground, also think about the creation of ladders, etc. Obviously, without the aid not only of mechanical or motor machinery, but almost always without animals, how do you make them move on stone ladders that are already difficult for humans? An immense, very tiring and thankless job. In the Cinque Terre they called them heroic olive groves for the exaggerated bunch they required for their construction. Another huge problem was the irrigation of the land thus obtained. Basins were often used to collect rainwater, or water was carried by arms. All this to cultivate olive trees and obtain olive oil, which was a commodity in great demand by other populations and therefore very useful for trading. Between one olive tree and another, anything else was grown, but often it was wheat. On the edges and on the walls of the dry stone walls bushes of aromatic herbs, of which the Ligurian cuisine is rich, were placed, which served both to reinforce the walls and to make those spaces productive. In Emilia-Romagna it was enough to spit on the ground for something to grow, forgive me for the simplistic and strong expression, but it is to make the difference, while in Liguria all this had to be done. Imagine being born in such a difficult context, where every move involves hundreds of steps, where for each loaf you literally had to sweat 7 shirts, where everything you have cost you 10 times the effort it cost other people's. How will you develop your character? You will certainly try to develop into other activities other than agriculture, since there is like going to the Olympics but you have only one leg and the ball and chain, or you will focus on something else. Then fishing developed, but above all trade first and banking activity later. Activities that were not strictly connected, and banking not at all, to the agricultural resources of the territory. To make a current comparison, the Ligurians would have tried to develop a sort of Silicon Valley to escape their agricultural destiny, focusing on the new opportunities made available by human development. Today they would probably be very skilled in online trading. In such a context, where you have to learn to use everything to the bone because it cost you immense effort, how can you be inclined to give something to someone? If you are a trader, how can you be a successful trader if you don't know how to sell your goods well? This is why Ligurians have a tendency to be stingy, because centuries, millennia of difficulties have made them this way. Other peoples have been influenced in different ways by the characteristics of their territory. That's how it went for the Ligurians. I am not very well informed about the situation in Scotland, but since they too have an impervious and climatically unfavorable territory, they have certainly developed the avarice for which they are known in the Anglo-Saxon world for very similar reasons. A famous Scotsman. But if Walt Disney had been Italian, I probably should have written a famous Ligurian.